Let's start with the gate level modeling from this part of the lab onwards. So far we have done a behavior level modeling. We model a processor, memory, even a complete system. By now in project 2 you should all be ready to submit the code and done with the experiment. So I believe you are now learned quite a bit on the behavioral modeling and how to represent a processor and memory and register file, all those components as a behavioral description. Now we'll do the similar thing, but to express this in a hardware term like the gate level. Behavior model is almost like a programming model. Like it has involved all this construct like if then, always, then begin and block. Those programming components are there, but gate level is more close to the hardware side. Like whatever we learned on the digital logic and side, digital schematic design and stuff like that using basic gates. This is the same thing. This is basically one-to-one representation of those schematic in a language format. Okay, so remember, like we'll do a example of this half adder and full adder. We did learn in the theory part of the digital logic and saw that saw the schematic diagram of this adder by connecting different logic gates using wires and then implement that at the gate level. So here we learn how to express that schematic picture in terms of a language, in terms of a writing language. Okay, so if I draw a schematic, most of the tool doesn't even understand what's going on there. So we have to have a language to express the same equivalent connections and between different gates in a textual format, and that's the whole target of the gate level modeling. So let's start with that. So at the gate level modeling, circuits are described in terms of logic gates. In the schematic also we have seen like we put all the schematic diagrams of different logic gate like AND or NOR and NOT, and then we make connection between different ports, input and output ports of different gate. Those are schematic. Now this is also we describe textually the same circuit using logic gates. Now Verilog supports this list of logic gates by default like AND, NAND, OR, NOR, XOR, XNOR, buff and NOT. These are the textual. So and implicit connection list in the instantiation where out, in and into, in one, into are wheres. So in this example, so far if you recall in the behavioral model also we had an idea of defining some module and instantiate that and connecting using the ports, and we did something like dot data, and then within round braces we put the wire name which to be connected to that specific port defined by dot something. Now, for that is like more explicit style of defining the port connection, like which wire going to the which port. That module also has a ability to do an implicit connection type. That means like this following. So this is not just restricted of using this basic gate, but any module, in general module, behavioral module, even yeah, for the behavioral module also we can have implicit list. So if I do this, okay, these are the wires out, in one, in two. So the connection to this module, and this is the instance name, and will be done in the sequence of the port list of this module. Okay, so if this module, assuming that port is out, in one, in two for this module, and we are just connecting that in a right sequence, then we are okay. I personally doesn't like this implicit type of declaration in the connection list because of the fact that we might actually go and do some wrong connections eventually. But if we do explicit, we need to type a little more. But we actually are okay because we exactly know which wire is being connected to which port if we do explicit connection. However, for these basic gates like AND or XOR, XNOR, buff NOT, this type of thing, we don't have a port list available in our hand. This is like compiler construct itself, and it assumes that okay, this is my sequence. The very first one is my output. These are all single output cells, and then it is the list of input. Now, for the AND logic, we can have two or more in the input list. Okay, so we can do another instantiation like and instance 2 out in 1 into comma in 3, then it will become it will be treated as a 3 input AND gate. Okay, but not for the NOT. NOT is strictly like one input, one output. Nothing changed there. But all other multi port gates, it can be two or more, and we can just do keep on increasing the list. Like if we say out and instance 3 out in 1 in 2 in 3 in 4 in 5 in 6, then it will be a 6 input AND. So we can this is not a very fixed length argument. We can this list can vary, and that means my gate size or input size of the gate can vary. So that's the one little thing you need to know about this. But apart from that, it is almost like instantiation of a module of a like we write in the like the behavioral model. We have written already such connection. It's similar to that. Differences is this, like we need to do an implicit connection, and we can increase the list of the input for the multi-input gates. Okay, now let's do an example. So we have seen this half adder circuit, right? I am not going to explain that, but you can refer back to your digital logic, those set of slides and notes, and see how we came with this schematic. But it's ultimately one XOR gate and another AND gate. So what we did, we just start like this module half adder, like any behavioral description. Then list of ports Y, C, it is the multi output, and A, B, these are the inputs. So we declared that input A, B, output Y, C. Then we are instantiating one XOR logic. This is the basic logic construct of the Verilog. Instance 1, then we are doing okay, this is my output, so XOR output is Y and A and B, and then we are instantiating the AND gate, instance 2, C, A, B, and module. So that's all. So we have the schematic, we just write the corresponding description in wording. Nothing else we did. Okay, so this is one-to-one correspondence. Like I have XOR gate, instantiate one XOR gate. I have AND gate, instantiate another AND gate. Now to make it a test bench out of it, test bench structure doesn't change. Like whether it is behavioral, we can write a behavioral code here to represent this thing, but this is more gate level. But test bench doesn't change practically. So we have to have this time scale. Then we have this test bench, then register A and B to drive these two wire, and wire Y and C to observe output of this out of this module. Then we instantiated this half adder, which has instance one name. Then we are doing an explicit port connection. This one I like more because we can do an implicit there, no problem. Y is comma C comma A comma B. It will save typing. But problem is that if you have many ports for the module, then your sequence, you can miss one of them or misplace one with the other. That will be a problem. It is very much sequence dependent if you do an implicit port connection. But explicit, you can put like first dot A and dot B and then dot Y and dot C. It doesn't really matter what sequence is. All it matters because you're explicitly making the connection. So you can put that definition anywhere in the list, and it will be still connected to the Y because you have made a tight agreement within this description. Okay, so that's the explicit port connection. Now after that, we just drive the A and B where the initial time with 0, then we see, okay, let's try with all two, like four combinations after 5 nanosecond 1 0, another 5 nanosecond 0 1, another 5 nanosecond 1 1, and then we just observe output values in our waveform browser. So we can do that. So this is a half adder, please do it. So you start write these two file, half adder v, half adder tb, and this will be used in our project 3, by the way. So these are, by doing it, you are not doing anything extra, but you are actually working towards your project 3. And this project 3 is tedious, time consuming. It is simpler in concept than project 2, but you need to type a lot. Okay, or I will next lab I'll show you another shortcut way, but little complicated way from programming perspective, to achieve the similar modeling effect like a get level modeling. We'll discuss that in the next lab, but let's start with these two file, and check your output in a test bench. Okay, yeah, that's what I was telling. Project 3, let's start it. So create a new project 3 in model sim, add existing code, all code from the project 2. We'll replace part by part of the behavioral model with the get level model. Okay, so that's why we called it an DaVinci 1.0 G, sorry, it's M 1.0 M, because it is not going to be uh, pure get level, because controller unit just go with the behavioral modeling. Uh, it would be similar to the project 2, but probably you need to add some more control because we will be dealing with multiplexers and stuff like that. Those control signal will come along with the control signal of your memory, register file, and ALU. Those things will be there like the project 2, and additional will be other control signal for the multiplexer choice. So we'll do that. We'll do that in a behavioral. We'll have the memory model in behavioral model. So it's going to be a mixed model. So essentially, some part will be behavior, some part will be get level, to better understand uh, what things are actually goes in the hardware of a processor. So far in the project 2, what we did understand that, uh, I think we should tell that, okay, how things, sorry, what things are, we should be like what things are goes in the processor. Okay, so this is different signal correlation and stuff like that that we learned and realized in the project 2. Now project 3 is how these things are happen uh, at the get level. Okay, what are there? So whatever we actually implement here, they are actually implementable on a real piece of silicon, and make it a real processor. Even we can take this code and just for an experiment put it on a FPGA, which is a real hardware, real piece of programmable silicon, and we can actually observe that our processor is working on the silicon. So this is an important, interesting project, project 3, derived from the project 2, and will start replacing behavioral model with the get level model. And this is today is the start of doing that. Please do it upfront, otherwise you won't get time to complete it in time. Okay. So copy this project 2 with the project 3, all the source file, all the test bench you have, same thing. Add these two new file, half adder tb, and do this experiment and observe the behavior. Once you do that, well, let's implement the full adder. So we have the half adder already. So we'll instantiate two half adder, and then we'll connect like this schematic. Okay, so we need to add another OR gate, and then what we need to do is connect the output of the first half adder to the port A of the next half adder, and then CI will be at the next port B of the second half of the half adder, and then this output of the half adder 2 will be my final output, and then the carry out need to be ORed with the carry out from the half adder previous stage half adder 1, and then this is going to make ultimate final carry out. So create a file fulladder.v in this project tree, instantiate to half adder, connect this connection like this along with the OR, and that will become a 1-bit full adder for you. Add a test bench of this full adder, test it. You don't need to write like testing condition and stuff like that. Just simply you drive these inputs A, B, and carry in different conditions. So 8 conditions will be there, and you just observe in the waveform viewer that you are getting a correct answer out of the Y and CO of the whole full adder, 1-bit full adder. Okay. Once you do that, now let's do 32-bit binary ripple carry adder. Remember, we did a 4-bit binary ripple carry adder. Now add this RC add sub. We'll use a sub also subtractor. So we'll convert that as a subtractor. But let's start with the adder. But okay, let's have this common name, add subtractor 32-bit dot v. And then what we need to do is basically your input will be in 32-bit input port, and another is with 32-bit, another input B is 32-bit port, and then we instantiate 32 of these full adder which we just implemented previously, this in the full adder.v. That module we go instantiate it, connect it, and collect the output out of it. Okay, 32-bit output of it, and first stage carry in tied to 0. Okay, try to stick it to 0, logic 0, like 1 tick B 0. Okay, so you connect to that, and that will be grounded. So you do that. Once you do that, then we convert it accordingly to the subtractor. So we call that port as an S and A. So 1 is subtraction, 0 is addition in our control, right? And we introduce 32 XOR gates, connect like this. This same S and A will be connected to this 32 different port of this XOR, and this individual bit from this input B will come as input of the XOR, 32 XOR, and that XOR output will be ultimately connected to this 32 different full adder. So do this full adder. Okay, now you have two ways. I think this is the end of this slide. Yeah, so you have two ways. Either hand connect this 32, like you need to do instantiation 0, 1, 2 to till 31 and connect different wires and declare different wires 32, those things. That is one way. Advantage of that is this is a very stable solution, guaranteed to work, because it's the matter of connection. If it doesn't work, then just you need to debug the connection. Probably you made some wrong connection from one component to the another. So that's all. That's all the problem can come in that specific this type of get level description. Okay. Downturn of it is that you have to type a lot. Okay. So there is one thing you can do. Definitely you can just write a quick JavaScript or Perl script or things like that, which will auto dump this description for you with along with the connection. If you understand this schematic connection, then you should should understand that these are pretty much uniform replicable pattern in the connection. Okay, so 0 always goes to the first instance, all the 0 bits. Second bit will go to the second instance, third will connect to the third instance, so on and so forth. So you can actually write a quick script which dump all this 32-bit 32 full adder instantiation with the correct connection. That's one way. Other way, just hand type, cut and paste, and carefully change the indices. Both of them are work. Definitely you need to type a lot. So that's a disadvantage. And as I said, the advantage is that if something goes wrong, it's there is nothing complicated to debug. It's just that somewhere some connection is missing or misplaced. Okay, that's all. In the next lab, what we'll see is that there is another programmatic way to replicate this structure inside the Verilog, which enables you to write very compact and less amount of code for a gate level modeling. But that is the advantage. You need to you need to actually write very less amount of code to even like implement 32-bit, 64-bit, 128-bit, to whatever number of bit. It will be really easy. Same thing, similar thing, very compact code. But if something goes wrong, it is difficult to debug. It is very difficult to debug. Okay, so both of this method will have its pros and cons. So you try on a simple thing, both of them, and pick your way to do it. Okay, either you go for the programmatic way, which is very compact in writing but hard to debug. Another is that you just type it, long typing, long things, tedious, very tedious task for repeating typing, the almost similar thing. But the advantage is that if something goes wrong, easier to debug. Okay, so next lecture we'll see how do we actually do a compact writing of a gate level modeling.